Hey everybody, it's Dana. Welcome back to my channel, and today I have another tea time video. And this video is on a topic that I've been meaning to kind of get off my chest for a while, because it's always, been in the back of my head, but I've never put it into words, and I just wanted to put it in a YouTube video so I never have to think about it again. And basically what I want to talk about is how the internet got representation wrong, or what they consider good and bad representation is not what actually is good representation. So obviously I can't speak for everybody, but I'm just gonna speak from my experience. So here we go. So there's this really bad and ignorant idea that good representation is vague representation, and it's so persistent. And I'm going to talk about cartoons because that is what I watch mainly, and sitcoms and more live action TV doesn't really do this all that much, and that's what I appreciate them for. But we're going to talk about cartoons. So there's this really weird idea that good representation is just having those types of characters in the story, and that you never mention it whatsoever. Okay, and to an extent that can be good representation, but it's all in the matter of moderation and context. If it's in a situation that doesn't really call to bringing attention to something, it makes sense. Like, I've been watching, or I caught up on Kipo and the Wonder Beast. I love that show, and the main cast is all black people, and they never really mention it just because it's a post-apocalyptic world, so it doesn't really come up in conversation. But that is not the standard for every single show, is basically what I'm saying. Not every show doesn't have a world that has conflict or bigotry, and yes, it's fun to imagine that all of our favorite worlds and TV shows don't have that problem, but that's not true. And just being vague about your representation doesn't automatically make it good. I think this idea comes from the saying that you should treat me like a person rather than my identity. So it's the saying that a lot of people say, gay people are like everybody else, or women are like everybody else, or black people are like everybody else. And yes, that's true, but we also have things that separate us from different types of people, and that's okay. A lot of people don't want to recognize the differences between white people and black people, like their experiences, or gay people and straight people, because there is a difference in those experiences, and it's not racist, homophobic, or sexist to point out or demonstrate those differences. And also, whenever people talk about, I'm going to call it invisible representation, meaning that yes, even though you have a person of color or you have an LGBT person in your show, it's still very vague, or it doesn't really add anything to the character. And like I said, that's totally fine. It's not inherently a bad thing, but I don't like it when we champion it as the pinnacle of representation, because we can have good representation, and we have had good representation that calls to the differences between cultures or just different people in general. My experience as a cis woman is different from the experience of a trans woman, and it is not transphobic to point that out or make a story about it in a show. Now, I can see creators who aren't from those specific groups not really wanting to write those types of stories, and personally, I don't think they should. You can do whatever you want, but if we're putting out a TV show and you want to do this accurately and you're worried that it's going to be offensive, then maybe you should get a group of writers who've actually experienced that, or who are from that group of people, and that will just make the entire thing just 10 times better. Diversity isn't just important on TV, it's also important behind the screens. I don't want a show full of black people if no black people are actually behind the scenes working on the show, because it's not genuine, because you're not taking those people's actual experiences and taking them into account. You only want to show those people, but you don't want to hire and pay those people. That's how I feel about it. But yes, everybody is a person, but people have different experiences, and it's not racist to show those differences. I'm really gonna have to edit this audio because it's a really hard topic to talk about, because people think that invisible representation is the pinnacle of representation, and I just wholeheartedly disagree. Like, Proud Family, it was unapologetically black. It had black people, it had things black people talk about. Does that make it racist, or does that make it bad representation? Not at all. Now, do I personally like Proud Family? It doesn't really matter in this topic, because representation it doesn't depend on my enjoyment of the show. But basically what I'm trying to say is, you can have good representation while also calling to the fact that this person is of a different identity. I don't like us pretending that our experiences are all the same, because they are not, and it gives a false narrative that there is no difference between us when there is, and that's okay. Like, it's okay, there's a difference in experience between straight and gay people. No straight person has ever had to come out as straight. Most gay people do have to come out as gay, and some gay people are ostracized because of that identity, and they might respond differently or act differently because of that identity. Not saying they all do, but some do, and it is more prominent in our communities, and that is okay, and that is okay to point out. Now, some people like to argue that, well, it's really hard to celebrate our differences because some people will see those differences as stereotypical, hence bigoted. And there's a very easy solution to that. Add more than one person of a different identity or marginalized group in your body of work. The answer is so simple. If you don't want a character to seem like a black stereotype, add another black person in there that doesn't act the same. The answer is so simple. It is so simple, and people like to act like you can't have more than one person of color or one person of color from the same group in one show. It's very much possible, since we have all white shows. It's very much possible. You can have more than one black person in the show. It's okay. And like, that solves so many issues. I'm gonna go back to Kipo for a second, just because it's on the front of my mind and I really like that show. For a moment, I kind of felt like Wolf was a stereotypical, like a black stereotypical woman, just because she's seen as hard, she's seen as tough, you know, and that is a stereotype of specifically dark-skinned black woman. But you know what doesn't make her a stereotype? Number one, she grows and changes as a person. And number two, it makes sense for her character. And number three, she is not the only black person in the show. If she was the only black girl in that main cast, then I might have a problem with it. But because she isn't, it allows her to become a character and not fall into that trap. Not only that, but Wolf actually has a reason for why she is that way, and she's able to grow into a better person and somebody that just doesn't fall into that specific stereotype, because she's actually a three-dimensional character and not a stereotype. You see where I'm going with this? Let's also look at Proud Family. No, that's not good. It has colorism in it. Moving on. Let's look at Craig of the Creek. The black little kid, he's just the main cast, and he has an all-black family. None of his family members or him seem like stereotypes, because there are more than one black person in the show, and we are able to fully embrace black culture and just black families and how they interact, because we know these people aren't stereotypes, because they have three-dimensional characters. Like the episode where it was like the family cookout and his uncle and their family came over, one of my favorite episodes, because I just related to it a lot. It made me smile, it made me laugh, and none of it felt stereotypical, because all of these people were characters. It's very easy not to make racial caricatures of characters. I don't know why everybody acts like it's really difficult. It's not. Just make the character three-dimensional, and if you can't do that, then add more than one marginalized group in your show. It's very, very simple. I don't know why everybody acts like it's like super, super hard. And why do I bring this up? Because a lot of people act like when we call attention to our different experiences, that is a bad thing. My experiences are different from other people's, and for you to ignore them or say that it's wrong to call attention, it's only ever narratives that pertain to marginalized groups. You know, black people, we can't really celebrate our culture or call to differences about our culture to other people's, because it's like, why are you talking about this? Why is it always about race? And it's like, because that's a part of my identity, and it does change the way that I experience and navigate the world. And that's okay for me to point out. Just like it's okay for a woman to talk about her experiences and how it's different from a man's. That's okay. And we can point out those differences. Like, we should celebrate our differences. And like I said before, representation that does not call attention to those differences, that's okay too. But I don't think it's the pinnacle of representation. There are different ways we can represent marginalized groups, and all of those ways can be valid. I don't like us saying that us erasing or never acknowledging the differences in experiences is the best way, because it's not. And that's only seen as the best way because it makes white people or straight people or men comfortable in those positions. So yeah, that's my video on representation and what I think about it. To sum up, if you did not want to watch this whole video, or if I need to save this clip to post it on somebody being ignorant, representation that doesn't call to the differences in identity, it's still valid representation, but it is not the only representation that we should be championing. Bringing attention to the differences in our experiences as people who are marginalized, it's not racist or stereotypical. It is just our lives. If you do not want your marginalized group to be seen as a stereotype, simply make them a character, and that solves all of your problems. And also, if you just can't do that for whatever reason, you could just add more than one person of that marginalized group in your story, so then it like cancels out. It's very simple. Okay. And yeah, that's pretty much all I had to say. Thank you so much for watching this video. Yeah, if you want to follow me, all of my social medias will be linked in the description, but my Instagram is under the same name, _hottea_, and my TikTok should be under the same name. So thank you so much for watching. I hope I'll see you guys in the next one, and if you have any video ideas or anything that you want me to talk about, please let me know. I'll see y'all in the next one, and I hope y'all have a great day. Bye.